Frankenstein's protection system and weaponry do not work, so Joe rides shotgun with him and his female navigator. Frankenstein proposes that his navigator evacuate before the vehicle is destroyed after feeling a heavy onslaught from Joe. Joe destroys Frankenstein's automobile with a rocket, and then we meet the movie's main character. After being frustrated by the factory's low wages, Jensen Ames and his co-workers protested. 2 truckloads of SWAT teams arrived and beat the workers. Ames became enraged and attacked the police officers. After Ames returns to his wits, he finds his wife dead, a knife in his grasp, and himself detained by police for suspected murder. The masked guy gives him a nasty look and makes a shooting motion with his gloved hand. 6 months later, Ames is transferred to Terminal Island Prison, where the stern guard Ulrich showers him with cold water before leading him to his cell. Ames easily defeats his cellmates once the guards depart. Ames is bullied again the next day. Are you enjoying this video? Click that sexy subscribe button. And one prisoner spits on his meal. Win the race and release him. Hennessy claims Frankenstein is a fan favorite and has won 4 death races, but Ames refuses to run. If Ames refuses, Hennessy threatens to imprison him. Ames reluctantly meets his coach, who will guide him throughout the race with Hennessy. Ames then meets with the gunner and names the other 2 squad members, who assist in modifying the race automobile with advanced armament and defensive gear. The coach then shows Ames his customized racing vehicle and explains how the offensive and defensive devices activate after a specific number of levels in the game. He then advises Ames against trying a jail escape, since the facility is under continual CCTV monitoring, and the only way out is over a tiny bridge that is strongly secured. Ames is taken to Hennessy's office the day before the race and handed Frankenstein's mask to wear. The coach informs the driver that the race has 3 stages, and the driver must survive stages 1 and 2 to compete in stage 3. The winner escapes after 3 phases. Before stage 1, Ames meets his navigator, Elizabeth Case, who was Frankenstein's navigator. Case helps Ames acclimate to the automobile. After the race starts, drivers must drive over symbols to activate their car's offensive and defensive systems, but they can't. Joe Ames finishes stage 1 in last place, while 3 other drivers are eliminated in the following scene. He confronts Hennessy about Pachenko and refuses to race in stage 2. Hennessy shows him pictures of his daughter with her foster parents and asks if he wants to see her again. Ames follows Pachenko to his team's garage and confronts him about his wife's murder, but other team members capture him and beat him down. Lists arrives and stabs Pachenko with a pen. Ames retaliates and almost kills Pachenko. The prison guards intervene and suggest the drivers save their anger for stage 2, the Ne. Hearing this, Ames understands that no matter how well he does, he will never leave. He accelerates forward and catches up with the other racers, chases Pachenko, and picks the weapon option, then overtakes and shoots him with remarkable foresight. The injured Pachenko is murdered in the middle of the track by a fast neck hit from Ames, who broke the death race regulations by stopping his car and getting out. Hennessy orders her secret weapon vehicle to destroy the Dreadnought, furious. The Dreadnought's presence terrifies the racers, who are shot, burned, and missile-ed until their cars explode. The Dreadnought shoots bullets, missiles, and rotating drills that penetrate racer cabins. Joe offers to work with Ames throughout the race. They divert the Dreadnought and lead it to the hazardous weapon, where the sharp metal bars emerge from the track and crush it. Afraid he knows her intentions after viewing Ames' outstanding racing performance, Hennessy orders Ulrich to blast Ames' car to remove him from the championship race. The following day, Ulrich puts a bomb under Ames' truck as Hennessy distracts the convicts with a speech. Ames views a video of a damaged billboard from a prior race and decides to speak to Joe. Joe and Ames tweak their cars in the final stretch. Joe has mounted lethal missiles on his vehicle case, while Ames has added a half-gallon of gas. Joe then informs Ames that he has gotten his release papers and that Hennessy has visited her to make him lose the race. Ames promises Joe he will not obey Hennessy's orders. Hennessy utilizes Joe's rocket function to get an edge over Ames during the second lap. Joe shoots at the billboard obstructing the jail escape path, forcing it to crumble and enabling him and Ames to escape. Hennessy instantly cuts the live broadcast and tells her cops to pursue and arrest the racers. She also fails to trigger the explosives beneath Ames' vehicle. The coach and other team members had already taken it out before the race began elsewhere, with helicopters and police vehicles chasing the fleeing couple. Ames releases the extra half-gallon of fuel and causes a huge explosion in the middle of the road, preventing the police from following them. The duo decides to separate, making the helicopters follow only his Ames since he is driving like Frankenstein and is their most valuable asset. The group then initiates the third plan, which involves Ames exchanging seats with her if she says she is ready and he has her release papers. Hennessy is surprised to see the bomb she hid beneath Frankenstein's vehicle when Ulrich sends a gift and congratulations cards to her workplace. The explosive explodes instantaneously, killing them. Coaches press detonators elsewhere. After 6 months, Joe and Ames had a successful Mexican garage. Ames regains custody of his daughter, and Case unexpectedly visits to congratulate them on their new life. At the film's end, Ames acknowledges he is not the greatest parent, but no one loves their kid more than him. Did you enjoy the video? Click that sexy subscribe button. Now click this video. Don't miss its shocking and sexy ending.
Hi sexy, come and watch till the end. A dinner party outside a home begins the narrative. It is Nick's birthday. Nick's mom addresses his dad's lateness in her speech. Nick rises to cut his face-shaped cake. He is adorable and bikes to school. He did homework for someone at school. After handing the man the assignment, his girlfriend creeps up on him and asks if he can come to a party tomorrow night, but he claims he will be busy. 2 men and a female attempt to acquire money from this person who owes them. Pete, Nick's closest friend, was scratched. Nick advises Pete to stand up for himself. Nick defends Pete when he claims he can't. He repays Pete and whispers, "He said, 'You are so broken, dude,' to Annie." Annie caught him after a few seconds. After punching him in the face, they wait to see the principal and have a chat. She tells him he is not better than her since he sells essays. He admits that he's a hypocrite. Then the principal comes and sends Annie home. Then he turns to Nick and tells him to stop wasting his time on lost souls like Annie Newton. "She has no future, you do, don't let us down," he says, and Nick's only reply is, "Can I leave now?" Then we see Annie back home. Her stepmother has made her brother dinner, so she confronts her about it. This causes an argument between her dad and stepmom, but Annie just goes upstairs and makes a sandwich for her brother Victor. Victor asks for if she'll be going out tonight, and she says yes. You can see the boy's mood change. Over at Nick's house, we see Pete arrive and tease him about getting beat up by a girl. Relatable. He now asks Nick about that same party, and Nick says he won't even be around by tomorrow. He'll be in London for the writers program. His mom doesn't even know, but he's going anyway. According to him, she's always trying to micromanage him and be on top of everything, but he's not going to let her have this one. Now we see Andy get in a car with her boyfriend Marcus, and they're off to rob a jewelry store, and he smashes the glass, grabs some jewelry, runs back to the Mercedes which Marcus just stole, and he drives off. The next morning, and he gets ready for school and is leaving with the bag. She ignored Marcus' request to leave the bag. He acted after she said he wouldn't. He dialed 911. A rat. Annie placed the bag in her school locker. Pete glared at her as she closed the locker. The officers checked her locker and discovered a jeweler. She was detained. She called Marcus. After the call, she leaves the station determined to avenge the person she was sure handed her in to the police. After Pete says farewell to Nick, we head to Nico's home, where his mom has learned about his London ticket. She confronts him when the airline calls to modify his travel schedule. She points out that he has had the ticket for weeks, so Nick is in his room getting ready to depart. He pockets a watch. Someone hits Pete as he runs. Annie's boys escort him to Annie. She hits him because she feels he has betrayed her. He confesses out of desperation. Nick asked his lady at the party if she wanted to fly to London with him since his flight was delayed. He hands her their ticket and wishes her well. He is not a snake. He believed Nick would have left the country by now. Pete exits the automobile and explains his actions, but no one is listening. He grabs Nick and demands, "Who is broken now?" "You are," Nick says. Nick has balls. They bury him after a couple more blows and a heavy kick to the face kill him. Nick's watch slips unnoticed. Before, Pete was forgivable. He informs Marcus. She says she applauded the man who sold her out, and he has a shotgun mark on his face because he knows it was not him. He is now wondering why she came to him knowing he was on parole. "Annie, why'd you come here?" he asked and sent her away. She feels betrayed. "Wait till you find out that he is the one who sold you out." She smashes some stuff in his workshop, gives him an ironic kiss, and leaves. Then, early the next morning, we see her burning her clothes from last night. You will not believe what we see next. Nick, he walks out of the woods looking clean and fresh, walks to school and sits in class, but no one can see him because he is invisible and relatable, so even though he is sitting right there and can hear everything they are saying, they use that opportunity to say some things about him, including his girl, who calls him pretentious and says he is always trying to make himself feel important. Then he shouts out to his mom. He can hear her talking to the detectives about him, but she cannot hear him. He is running home now. On his way, he clambers into someone in the school hallway, gets hit by a car, and gets run over by a truck. But nothing really happens in real life. He gets home and sees detectives all around his house doing everything to find him. He tries to put his mother out of her misery by telling her he is dead. But of course she can't. The romp is on the roof, questioning what she was doing last night, and Nick is there to monitor her lies. But he also finds out that Annie slapped him because she felt he ratted her out and pushes her off the roof, which does not work. The detectives take a search party out to the woods where Nick's body was dumped, and Annie calls Pete and tells him to be there. Nick hears that and gets visibly sick. He's in his room now, and he can see his mom come in and go through his stuff. She's reading a poem he wrote. He's reading along with her. His pet bird joins him in invisible paradise. He holds it in his hands, and after some seconds it disappears. As a revelation for him, he says, "I'm alive." And he runs straight to where his body was dumped. He's trying to get the search party to find him, but he's not having much luck with the humans. The dog, however, first seemed like he could see Nick, but he turned away at the last second. The dog helped find Nick's watch, though now Peter's reporting to Annie and the rest of the gang. He feels they'll soon be found out, so he says he'll go to report to the police, and he tells him if he reports he goes to jail too. Meanwhile, Nick is there listening to everything, and he now sneaks back into her house, and she's trying to pack up her stuff and run away. Victor wakes up and begs if she will go forever like mom. He cries. This guy softens her rock-hard exterior. She wisely advises Victor not to be like her. She leaves when her dad instructs her to, but she promises to return and clap for her younger brother if something happens to him. Choppers and an ambulance join the woodland hunt. Nick has 2 or 3 days left, according to a specialist. Nick's torso and fingers move, proving he is alive. The cop Brian goes to speak with Marcus and asks him if he was with Annie on Tuesday night, to which he replies yes. He then asks him if he was with her the night before when she robbed the jewelry store, to which he replies no. Brian knows Marcus has been on parole for 8 months, but he does not stress that too much. He drops his card and tells Marcus to call him if he sees Annie because he wants to talk to her about a missing person. Nick is yelling at his mom and shaking her, spilling everything on the table and slamming a chair through the window, but none of it really occurs. His mom begins sobbing and yelling Nick's name a few minutes later. Marcus grabs Pete in the downpour and places a pistol to his chest. Marcus lies to Pete about the cops pursuing him. He shows Pete where the corpse was placed in the woods. The following day, Marcus attempts to fool Annie into going to a spot to clap her, but she uses something and phones Pete to go instead. She refused to wake up for Nick. Detective Kate pursued Pete. Pete is on the bridge with the 2 men as Annie watches from a distance, but Marcus arrives from behind her and places a pistol in her back, taking her to the bridge where the rest of the guys are and telling Pete to go home. He rushes home, happy to be asked. Marcus says they have to move fast because Pete has a tail, and he is correct. But the police are already here, and Ethan takes a shotgun for Marcus and points it at the officers, but they are surrounded now. But Annie has one heck of a survivor and climbs out and escapes. Peter Parker would be very proud while she is running away. Nick screams, "We'll catch you, Annie." And it seems like she heard him because she turns around and yells something, so Nick goes, "She heard me." She goes to a club and sells a ring that belonged to Marcus to some guy. After he pays her, she decides to stay back and do a little dancing. She takes off her hoodie and beanie and is now doing the signature white woman dance while Nick is just watching her the next day. Yet she leaves. She sneaks into school at night to place money for Victor in her locker. Nick tells her he is dying, and she is the only one who can rescue him. He yells her name in her brain, and she turns around but sees no one. She is unhappy, so Nick does not look while she showers. Harry will be ghostly and oversleeping or not sleeping at all. Well, now that we visit Annie and Nick's home, she is going through his old photographs and becoming sentimental. Nick is happy as his corpse decays in that pit. But Nick's mom destroys any romanticism, and he hurries out of the home and directly towards the woods to where they dump Nick's body and Viola. The body is not there. Nick tells Annie that someone moved his body and asks her to thank them. She sees the substances she found with Pete days earlier and realizes that Pete was here, so she goes after Pete at school. Pete tells her that Nick did not even rat her out in the first place, and he confesses that he and Marcus moved the body. She ambushes him in his car outside a police station. Then she takes him to a precipice and tells him to go on his knees for a role reversal moment. Then she points a gun at him while Pete is trying to self-delete. Nick is begging him not to do it, but Pete cannot even hear a thing. But here's the beautiful thing. While Pete is in that transition zone where he is not dead but not fully alive, he sees Nick, and they can see and talk to each other. Nick is now asking Pete where he moved the body at the same time, and he is asking Marcus the same question. They both answer at the same time. After they do, Pete's parents rush into his room and find him in the state he is in, and Annie just leaves Marcus and turns around to go find Nick. But not clapping him turns out to be a bad idea because Marcus stands up and shoots her. She does not die, though she has enough in her to shoot him and stand up and call detect. Kate orders the guards to seal the gates and search for Nick. Everyone rushes to Brian. They hurry him into an ambulance as Annie watches. She gets into her vehicle and blacks out while bleeding. In the evening, a policeman awakens her and orders her out of the vehicle, but she drives away. As predicted, they chase her to the hospital. Nick's mother watches doctors rescue him. Annie gets caught by the police, but Nick's voice in her thoughts whispers, "I need you, Annie, I need you," which motivates her. She accelerates past the police barrier. She takes her turn after parking the automobile. Naturally, the hospital where his body is being operated on, Nick's mother says you have nerve when she sees her. Nick tries to play peacemaker, but Mama can't hear you, so Annie has to do it all on her own. She says she just has to talk to Nick, but Nick's mom lands a slap on her face, and he then tells her that Nick is here, that she can feel him and hear him, that she knows what he wants. Of course, she doesn't believe her, so on Nick's directive, and he tells Nick's mom about that time she was in his room reading his poems and how he was with her, that she now asks Annie what she wants, and then he says she just needs to see Nick, she can help him, but his mom says no, and he hands for her gun and says she knows she can bring him back. She finally lets her go in, and he is now running her fingers through Nick's body. She apologizes to him and begs him not to go. She takes off her necklace, which once belonged to her mom, puts it in his hand while she joins him on the bed and snuggles with him. When she does that, the invisible neck disappears, and the real Nick wakes up and calls Annie's name, and he says she wanted to do one good thing, and Nick tells her she did, she saved him. Then Annie taps out. Then we see Victor playing with a toy plane, and Nick shows up and has a conversation with him. Victor says his sister died, and Nick says they should send her a message. Nick writes and flies Victor's brief message, "Hey Annie," aboard the aircraft. The end. See you later, sexy.
Jennifer talks to Jonas, who was Craig's best friend, and is very upset by his death. She tells him she was the last person to talk to Craig, and that his last wish was for her and Jonas to be together. Jonas agrees to go with her in Toma. Wroblewski hears Jonas screaming in the parking lot and thinks he is just crying, grief at first, but he soon figures out what is going on and goes into the bush to check it out. He finds Jonas's body being eaten by a deer. A couple of hours later, the cops pick up the body, and Jonas's dad says he will find and kill his son's killer. At her house, Needy is cooking while listening to the radio. She hears that Low Shoulder has become heroes because of the fire. Then, a mother comes into the kitchen and tells her that she had a dream that Needy was nailed to a tree, worried that she might not be able to be there for her daughter one day. Later, after taking a swim in the lake, Jennifer calls Needy to tell her she is having a great time day, and we see her burn her tongue without pain. But Needy hangs up on her after Chip calls her and asks her to see her at the park. When they meet, Chip tells her about Jonas' death, so Needy keeps him company to comfort him. Days continue to pass and the school keeps on mourning, except for Jennifer, who is as peppy as always. Their little town has become famous around the country, and the press couldn't get enough of their drama. The song that Low Shoulder played the night of the fire becomes a hit nationwide, and almost an anthem in town. A month after the tragedy, Mr. Wroblewski tells his class that the band has accepted to come and play at the school's spring formal for free. They'll also be donating some of the profits of their new single to the families affected by the fire. Needy thinks they're scummy for using them as a publicity stunt and reminds everyone that she was there the night of the fire and knows the rumor of the band saving anyone is a lie, which causes her to argue with a classmate that is a big fan of them. Class ends before it can escalate, and Needy leaves with Jennifer, who is looking very sick. When Needy comments on it, Jennifer says it is wearing off. Suddenly, Colin walks up and asks Jennifer out, but she turns him down. When Needy says she thinks he is cool, though, Jennifer changes her mind and tells Colin to come by her place later. That night, Needy goes to Chip's to spend the night making love. In the meantime, Colin is driving to the address Jennifer texted him and is very confused when he arrives at an abandoned house that he must enter through. When he follows the sound of music, he finds a room with candles burning and Jennifer. Jennifer distracts him with kisses, but when her eyes change color, he steps back. Jennifer grabs him and says she needs him to be scared, so she breaks his arms and throws him on the floor so she can start feeding on him. Back to Needy, she starts to see blood while she is still close with Chip. The roof looks like it is leaking, and both Jonas and Jennifer look like they have been hurt. Chip sees her sitting nearby. At first, he thinks her groans mean she is happy, but he soon realizes Needy is too upset to continue, so she gets dressed and leaves in her car. In the middle of the road, she almost crashes into Jennifer, who is covered in blood again and is now jumping on Needy's car window. Jennifer falls off when Needy drives back at a high speed, though. Needy goes home and cries and dreams about Jennifer until she falls asleep on the couch. She wakes up a few minutes later and goes to her room, where she finds Jennifer's body finds Jennifer waiting for her there, but she has no blood on her and is only wearing pants and one of Needy's t-shirts. Jennifer starts kissing her, and after some initial reluctance, Needy kisses her back. Jennifer starts touching her, and that is when Needy snaps out of it. Needy is freaking out about what she saw earlier, so Jennifer finally tells her the whole story of what is going on. On the night of the fire, Low Shoulder took Jennifer to the waterfall and tied her to the ground so he could give her to a monster in exchange for fame and success. The guy stabbed her while singing Jenny to her, and then they threw the knife into the river. For some reason, she did not die. Instead, she woke up and could not remember anything. Way to Needy. Since Needy is her friend, she could not hurt her, so after leaving her house, she went down the road and found Ahmet, who had gotten out of the fire, but no one knew he was still alive. So she took him into the woods and ate him. Jennifer knows that when she is full, she cannot be killed, and she shows Needy by cutting her arm and having the wound heal itself right away. Needy, who is upset, asks Jennifer to leave, and she does so by jumping out of the window, getting hurt. A few days later, Needy helps out at Colin's funeral, where his emo friends and his mother fight. Colin's school has a memorial for him, and students are taught about the buddy system and how to deal with sadness, but no one seems to care anymore. They have moved on. Needy hasn't, so she starts doing research in the school library's paranormal area. She avoids Jennifer and finds out that her friend is now possessed by a succubus, a demon that must eat flesh, because the rite went wrong because Jennifer was not a virgin. The only way to kill her is to put a sword through her heart when she is weak. When Chip talks to her about the upcoming dance, Needy tells him not to go and tries to talk him out of it. To tell him Jennifer is evil now, but he does not believe her. Needy says she will go to the dance, but not with him because it is not safe for them to be together now. When the night of the dance comes, everyone is getting ready. Chip's mom gives him pepper spray because she is worried about his safety after what happened to Jonas and Colin. Jennifer tries to cover up how sick she looks with makeup. Jennifer goes up to Chip at the park and tells him that Needy has been cheating on him with Colin. She starts kissing him, and soon he asks her to go somewhere else, so she does. Jennifer takes him to an empty pool house. Chip cannot kiss her anymore because it feels strange, so Jennifer throws him in the pool and starts shaking him. Needy, on the other hand, feels something on her lips and figures out that Jennifer has Chip. When she goes to his house, his mom tells her that he cut through the park to get to the Needy, goes down that way and finds the bouquet he bought for her on the ground. When Chip calls for help, Needy goes to where he can hear him and goes into the pool. Chip goes to Needy's house to give him his pepper spray, but when he gets there, Jennifer has already started to eat him. Needy jumps into the pool, which makes Jennifer run away from Chip. When Jennifer gets close again, she sprays her eyes, which makes her throw up on them and float out of the pool. Chip and Needy also get out of the pool. Needy tells Jennifer she has always been a good swimmer, a bad friend, and insults her in various ways. Jennifer intends to attack her for this, but as she comes closer, Chip impales her with a pool skimmer. It's not enough to kill her though, so she just leaves through the window while Chip dies in Needy's arms. A few moments later, Needy is back in her house, thinking about what happened and deciding on a plan. After changing into clean, dark clothes, she goes to see Jennifer, who is at her house going through the school yearbook to choose new victims while looking sick because she couldn't feed. Needy breaks in by smashing a window and attacks her with a precision knife, but Jennifer has enough strength to fight back and even levitate a bit. She bites Needy on the arm before she cuts a cross on her stomach, and after some struggling in the air, Needy tears off Jennifer's matching friend necklace, causing her to let go of her and fall on the bed. Needy lands on top of her and stabs her in the heart, effectively killing her, but she's caught in the act by Jennifer's mother. Back in the present, Needy tells us that if you are bitten by a demon and survive, you gain some of its abilities. Needy can levitate now, so she uses that power to escape solitary confinement through the window, then uses super strength to simply walk through the grills outside. She makes her way to a road next to a river, where she finds Nicolet's knife and the objects scientists have thrown into the waterfall. As the sun rises, she manages to hitchhike a ride to Madison, where Low Shoulder is staying in a fancy hotel. The band is living the best life now with fans, money, and drugs. That is, until Needy finds them and murders them all. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Click this video to enjoy another amazing movie. Don't miss out on its shocking ending.
Hi sexy, come and watch till the end. New York City author Jennifer Hills wrote her second book in Louisiana. She picks up the cabin keys at a store on the way. Earl gives her keys and directions at the store. Jennifer's vacation is for writing serenity. Jennifer stops at a gas station to seek directions when she gets lost. Johnny, an attendant, directs her there. Jennifer accidentally presses her panic button, scaring Johnny. His buddies Andy and Stanley giggle as he spills a pail of fluid. Johnny looks embarrassed as Jennifer drives off. Jennifer arrives at the cabin, her home for months, after a lengthy drive. She promptly unpacks, ready to move. After days of book writing, Jennifer rests by the lake the next day. She ignores strange sounds. The sounds return, making her nervous. Jennifer checks the shed across the way and discovers only poison vials. She washes her clothing after spilling her drink. An unknown individual is surreptitiously filming her half naked. The next day, she runs into the woods and finds an abandoned cottage. Jennifer peeks inside out of curiosity. She keeps going because nothing interests her. She calls Matthew, a plumber, after finding her sink and toilet blocked at home. He stutters due to mental illness. Jennifer kisses Matthew after he restores her bathroom. Shy Matthew flushes and hurries out. Andy, Stanley, and Johnny like killing birds in the woods. Stanley, who loves randomness, records the savagery. Matthew comes shortly after and tells the group about Jennifer kissing him. Johnny doubts him, but Stanley proves it by presenting a video of her in underpants. Jennifer is concerned by the scary home sounds at night. She discovers just a dead bird outside her door. She sees the group picture on her laptop when she returns inside. She is horrified until she realizes they are inside. Johnny, Stanley, and Andy harass Jennifer, scaring her. Johnny brings Matthew inside to join their plot when Stanley calls. Johnny leaves the others in threatening and drinking Jennifer. Johnny becomes angrier when she refuses, forcing her to comply. He then pulls Jennifer closer and asks for her teeth. Johnny draws a revolver and kisses Jennifer. While Johnny watches, Andy does the same with booze. Jennifer pepper sprays Stanley after hitting Andy's leg. She can flee to safety in the woods. Jennifer and Earl encounter Sheriff Storch. Jennifer tells the guys tearfully about her previous attack. Storch's badge reassures her that she is protected. The sheriff tells Earl to go home because he will take Jennifer to the cabin. Storch then drives Jennifer back to the cabin to face the gang. He boldly shoves them out while searching the cabin. Storch discovers Jennifer's joint and smashed beer bottle. Despite her pleadings, he interrogates Jennifer. He thinks she should not lie about the guys he has known since childhood. Storch then pats Jennifer while facing the window. As the lads enter, he unlawfully touches her, exposing Storch as the group's collaborator. Storch instructs Jennifer to kneel with a shotgun. Joni lifts her up and orders Matthew to undress. Jennifer is at risk of death with 5 callous guys. Matthew forces himself on Jennifer while Stanley records. Jennifer escapes the cabin despite being weak. She finds the gang again in the woods and suffers more. Andy submerges Jennifer's head twice in a puddle. Storch strips and forces himself on her while she lies on the ground. Jennifer wakes up covered in mud when the men turn on her. Jennifer rises again to search the woods for aid. She reaches the bridge as the 5 guys pursue her, still unhinged by her ordeal. Jennifer jumps into the river just before Storch shoots her, disappearing. They cannot find her corpse. Instead, they erase evidence, notably Stanley's recordings. Storch arrives home to his wife and kid, Chastity, after a busy day. He stays home without regret, as if nothing had occurred. The following day, Storch brings the cabin keys to Earl's store, stating that Jennifer fled without warning. The gang lives normally for weeks. Matthew is the only one who regrets staying in the woods. He sees Jennifer eerily gazing at him. Matthew hides his eyes in terror and thinks Jennifer is haunting him. Stanley runs toward Andy and Joni as they drink. He worriedly tells the voice that his camera was taken and that he retained the problematic footage. Johnny rages and beats Stanley for putting them in danger. Johnny hears sounds outside and finds a dead bird on his doorstep that night. He starts it before entering. He returns inside and hears it again, bringing a rifle. The dead bird appears again on his doorstep, unidentified. Johnny runs outside to discover Jennifer's shoe on the porch and attempts to track the sound again, but he fails. When Storch gets home, his wife tells him a delivery has arrived. He is pleased that his wife and daughter have not seen Stanley's tape. Storch races to meet the apprehensive group. Storch immediately threatens Stanley, believing he is pranking him. Johnny presents the slipper to protect his pal, accusing Matthew of everything. Storch gives Earl booze and shoots him while hunting. Earl observes Storch take Jennifer back to the cabin, making him a suspect. Matthew contemplates his activities in the cabin. Jennifer's voice calls him inside. Falling down the stairs knocks him unconscious. He awakens to discover Jennifer seated on the sofa. He sits near Jennifer and apologizes. Matthew clings to her in remorse, crying. Jennifer soothes him, then ties a noose around his neck. Despite gasping, Matthew apologizes, but Jennifer says it is not enough. The gang searches the woods for Matthew when evidence resurfaces. Andy and Stanley find him in an abandoned cabin after several minutes. Stanley searches for Matthew as Andy enters. He is shocked to find Jennifer smirking at him. Stanley jumps on her bear trap and cries for Andy, who is batted. Jennifer smacks Stanley, knocking them out. Jennifer ties Stanley to a tree and films him. She throws a dead rodent in his mouth, making him puke. Jennifer sets up the camera and uses fish hooks to keep his eyes open. Jennifer guts a fish and covers Stanley's face while filming. Crows peck him after smelling the fish's intestines. He bleeds to death when the birds devour his eyes. Andy wakes up bound to planks above a bathtub in the rundown cabin. As Jennifer checks on him, the tub starts filling. Andy begs her to let him go, but she wants to torment him as she did. Jennifer repeatedly submerges his head in water before adding lye and removing a board. Andy must struggle to keep upright but falls into the water. Andy's face burns, killing him. The next day, Jennifer visits Johnny's petrol station. She assaults him in a short skirt. She returns him to the cottage to wreak havoc. Johnny awakens naked, bound to the ceiling. Jennifer rips out his teeth with pliers, revealing his faults. Jennifer puts a pistol to Johnny's lips, as he did to her. He laughs, agitating Jennifer. She chops Johnny's privates with hedge clippers and puts them in his mouth. He dies screaming. Jennifer's last objective is Storch. The sheriff's family calls to say Chastity's instructor is at their house. Jennifer's phone greeting stuns Storch. He rushes home to see Chastity and Jennifer. Storch enters an empty playground without his daughter. He panics and goes back to the patrol vehicle where Jennifer knocks him out. He wakes up in the cabin with a weapon within him. Jennifer brazenly discusses how great chastity is and how he might abuse a lady. She pushes the weapon further, bringing the sheriff unspeakable anguish. Jennifer says Matthew is alive but unconscious across the room. If Matthew moves, the trigger string around his wrist will murder both men. Jennifer rejects Storch's plea for his life. Jennifer leaves the cabin, unperturbed by his screams. Matthew awakens, asking Storch to calm him. However, Matthew's mental handicap prompts him to panic and accidentally shoot them. Outside, Jennifer celebrates her retribution. The end. See you later, sexy.
Welcome to another sexy movie recap. Watch till the end. You won't want to miss the shocking and satisfying ending. The film begins with a janitor sweeping the floors and leaving. He investigates a locker room noise. He attempts to assist a fearful girl sitting on the floor, but another girl walks in and urges him to get out. Kyla takes yearbook photos afterwards. Chris, their new English instructor, attracts her. Kayla asks Riley if she may study in her home, hoping to get closer to Chris. After that, she starts taking more images of him. She returns home and finds her mother getting ready for a date with a guy and wearing a new dress. That night, are you enjoying this video? Click that sexy subscribe button. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Kyla dreams of Chris and pleasures herself. The next day, she goes to Riley's house and starts asking questions about her father. Riley says her mother cheated on Chris, resulting in a divorce and a transfer. Kayla also tells Riley about her father, who left her when she was 6. When Riley goes to the bathroom, Kyla heads straight to Chris's room and imagines herself with him. The next day at school, Trisha is still trying to use her charm on Chris, but Chris, being old school, does not catch her hints. After class, Trisha befriends Riley, and Kayla sees them together and feels jealous. She warns Riley that Trisha is dangerous, and Kyla claims that Trisha slept with a history teacher last year, which led to his replacement. Later that day, Kyla phones Riley and learns she will be 18 shortly. Kyla will help Riley host a birthday celebration at her place. She then asks Chris about his relationship and makes him stay the night since his clothing got soiled at supper. Kyla cannot stop staring at Chris, but she cannot watch her mother and Chris flirt, so she leaves for her room. She knows her mother and Chris will kiss to destroy their moment. Kyla pretends that someone was watching her change in her room and wants to be with her mother and Chris to avoid being laid. Chris tells her that Riley is dating Trisha despite her caution. Do whatever she wants. Riley joins them, and they depart for school. Kyla confronts Riley about her going out with Trisha despite her warning that Trisha is using her to get to her father, but Riley tells her that Trisha claims it was not her who had slept with her history teacher, but Kayla herself. Kyla denies the allegation and rudely behaves with Riley, forcing her to leave. Later, Kyla confronts Trisha and threatens her to stay away from Riley, but Trisha is not bothered by her and refuses to back down. That night, the next day, when Kyla opens her locker, she finds it full of the pictures she took the night before. She goes straight to Chris, who assures her that he will find the person responsible for this. Riley sees them and leaves them alone, after which Kyla and Riley make amends and apologize to each other. Kyla also admits that she slept with the history teacher, claiming she was manipulated. Kyla's mother is getting ready to meet Chris. Kyla finds Trisha's private texts on Chris's phone when he is in the bathroom. Kyla's mother says Chris utilizes his pupils. Her mother then fired Chris. Kyla is relieved that her mother is gone. She visits Chris in his vehicle. Are you enjoying this video? Click that sexy subscribe button. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you, contemplating what transpired. Kyla arrives and seduces Chris. She kisses him passionately until Chris caves. Kyla is glad she got what she wanted. Kyla sends Chor those texts. Chris resists Kyla's advances but caves in. They make love before hooking up. Riley is horrified when she sees them together. Chris attempts to stop her, but it is too late. Kyla discourages Chris from pursuing her by informing him that Riley is an alcoholic. He ignores her and finds Riley the following day. Riley tells Kyla's mother about school the night before. Chris attempts to reconcile with Riley, but she will not communicate. Kyla's mom hits Chris after class. Kyla informs her mother that she is old enough to date anyone and that she and Chris are in love. Kyla's mother confronts Chris and asks why. Chris apologizes to Riley and promises not to see Kayla. Kyla calling Trisha to meet before school the following day makes Riley forgive him. Kyla confesses framing Trisha and hits herself when she arrives. Trisha gets framed for breaking her fingers as Riley and Chris arrive. Kyla calls the police when Trisha strikes her. Kyla is hospitalized. Riley and Chris head to the hospital, where Riley informs Kyla that her father-daughter relationship is over. Kayla accepts and begs Riley to take over her yearbook responsibilities for a basketball game that night because her hand is damaged. Riley agrees. Kayla also requests one final farewell with her father from Riley. After Riley departs, Kyla promises Chris she will never leave him and that he will have to face her every day in class. Chris quits his job to avoid her. Kayla escapes school with a hospital knife. Kyla informs Riley that only one person can be in Chris's life. She then stabs Riley in the stomach and goes to Chris's class, where she puts the scalpel to his neck and tells him they are meant to be. Kyla then confesses that she deceived her prior instructor. Riley is alive and wants. Riley is astonished to learn that Kayla is alive after the police take them away in different ambulances. Months later, Chris and Riley have relocated and are excited to start a new teaching career in college, respectively. As Riley drives to school, we observe a hooded person, likely Kayla, emerge from concealment. Did you enjoy the video? Click that sexy subscribe button. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Now click this video to enjoy another sexy movie recap. You won't want to miss out on its shocking and satisfying ending. Sadie gives Cole the oak to come in with her eyes, but it looks like they say goodbye with a kiss. The mating season makes these two stop being such gentlemen, and on the way back home, they blow each other up beautifully in bed music. Cole cannot stop thinking about Sadie and reliving their first date. When he gets home, he tells his family about it. He says that Sadie is his missing half and that last night's date was great. When Maddie sees a picture of the two of them, she finds Cole's behavior strange and tells him not to show himself so much at the beginning of a relationship with someone who needs affection. His parents are happy about this, but they also ask him to be more. Cole's dad tells him to get some rest. He realizes that Sadie still has his asthma inhaler, so he uses his tracking device to find out where she is. To his surprise, he finds out that Sadie is now in London. When he tells his family about this, they say that Sadie's job may have kept her from responding to Cole's messages because she was on an unexpected mission. Cole's parents want him to go to London and surprise his dream girl. He agrees and rushes to London to impress her. In London, he tells the driver the whole story of how he met Sadie. Are you enjoying this video? Click subscribe. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. The driver realizes that Cole is a fool for leaving his country and coming to London for a one-day affair. Cole uses his tracker to find out exactly where Sadie is. When he gets there, he is taken by people he does not know, and when he wakes up, he is in a secret base in the middle of nowhere. He is totally out of it because he has been given anesthesia. This man seems to have mistaken Cole for a man named Taxman, whose job it is to stop these people from doing their jobs, and is getting ready to hurt him. Cole tries to prove who he is and asks them to look at their passports to make sure. Torture. A man is sure of his prey and hits Cole. It seems that this man is trying to get the passcode of a gun from Cole by torturing him, but only the Taxman knows the passcode. The head of the torturer is very angry and wants to get this information from the taxman so he can sell the gun. Cole finds out that she works for the CIA. She is a very skilled agent and kills many enemy forces. On the other hand, Cole is completely lost and scared. He barely leaves the cave and sees that he is in the Khyber Gorge in Pakistan. Using a bus, They try hard to get away from their enemies. Cole is also involved in this fight, and he makes his first kill with Sadie's gift, killing several enemies and painting his hand with their blood after a forced stop. In the middle, Sadie pushes a stunned Cole to keep going. Levesque goes to the cave, where the leader of the Wagner group shows him the leaked information about the taxman. While walking, Cole thinks all of Sadie's previous words are lies and blames himself for getting involved in these events because of her. At the end of this conversation, Sadie tells him to shut up and stay with her until she takes him to the airport, and then they part ways. Cole's situation is very complicated because the enemy forces still think he is a taxman and are trying to catch him alive to get the passcode for the weapon. After seeing the murder scene, Levesque tells them that this mission will either bring them money and power or kill them all in the end. So they must search for the taxman with all their might and arrest him. He brutally kills one of the survivors so that the other forces can use their weapons on Cole. Marco, who seems to be having trouble with Sadie, asks them out for drinks. Marco says that Levesque has the gun but does not have the passcode, and that in order to sell the gun, he needs both the gun and the passcode. This is why they are trying so hard to catch the taxman. When the argument between the three of them gets worse, Marco says that Sadie escaped during one of their missions together a few years ago, causing Marco to lose one of his arms. He says that he cannot be happy because he has a bad conscience. Sadie offers cash to Marco to get Cole out of the country and back home. After saying goodbye to Cole, she leaves. A short time later, Marco, who says the city is his and that he is safe, is killed by a bounty hunter. It turns out that Levesque has put $1 million reward on the taxman's arrest, so all the bounty hunters are looking for these two people. The bounty hunters kill each other one by one until no one else is a threat to their lives. She seems to have decided to give Cole to Levesque as a reward. After some boring talk, Levesque asks Cole to give him the passcode. With Sadie's help, Cole stops talking, and they all get on a plane to go to Levesque's trusted location in America. On the plane, Levesque tells his senior officer to get the passcode from Cole, or he will kill the plane and everyone on it. Are you enjoying this video? Click subscribe. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Sadie tells Cole to take the suitcase and jump out of the plane with just the parachute because she does not want to take the blame. Cole gets everything ready and gets off the plane with Sadie when she asks him to get off alone, but he saves Sadie's life anyway. They land on an island, and when Sadie comes to, she sees that Cole has made a shelter and taken care of her wound to save her life, and they even have the Aztec weapon with them. On Wagner's phone call with Levesque, he tells Levesque that he is lost again, but Levesque cuts him off. Sadie tells the CIA where she is, and they talk to her about the past and her family. Cole finds out that she does not have any family and that the CIA has trained her to live alone. But when she meets Cole, everything changes. Cole also thinks it is special that these events are the first record of him leaving his country. They put aside their differences and kissed on the beach. The next day, Wagner's forces fire on them, and when CIA forces arrive, he uses the confusion to steal Aztec's bag. In the meantime, Sadie decides to save Cole's life, and Wagner escapes, but Cole lives because of Sadie's actions. The agents take them back to the CIA headquarters, where they decide to convince Levesque to meet the taxman in person by giving him a part of the passcode. After meeting the taxman, they arrest him and capture Ast. Sadie tries to talk him out of it, because this mission will put his life in danger. He thinks it is important to protect his loved ones and tries to get Sadie to make this a priority in her life for once. However, it seems that Sadie has given up on the mission because of her failure, and her bosses tell her to go home and rest. Cole must make this visit alone, without Sadie. Mr. Utami, the Aztec buyer, goes to Levesque and threatens to kill everyone if he does not get the passcode. He then decides to go to this meeting with Levesque, and if he does not get the passcode there, he will kill Levesque, the whole team, and the taxman. The mission starts, and Cole is put on the spot as bait. CIA agents get in touch with him and ask him to play the part of taxman. Well, the waitress leads Cole to the reserve table. Cole is worried because 3 people will protect his life while Sadie is far away, looking at the gift Cole gave her. When Yutani and Levesque get to the hotel, Wagner kills Cole's 3 backups, leaving him alone. Cole tries to leave the meeting place, but because his family is in danger, he decides to go back to his desk and wait for Sadie. After the guests leave, Levesque tells Cole that the support forces have been killed and asks for the passcode. Cole tries to waste time, but Itami tells him that he needs the passcode right away, or he will kill the VEC and Cole at the same time. Levesque threatens him with a gun, but just then, Sadie Levesque knows that Sadie is really the taxman and that Cole is just her boyfriend. Sadie gives the password, and the Aztec weapon pops up. The Yutani employee puts the money right away into his account number. Levesque tries to scare Sadie into giving him the money, but Sadie will use her $10 million to pay the price for killing Levesque. Several bounty hunters show up at the hotel and take Levesque's gun because his boss is in danger. Wagner tells the war people to run away, and when Sadie steals Aztec, a shootout starts. Cole stops Sadie from getting shot in the middle of the fight because he is involved with Wagner, who is out of control after killing Itami and shooting the orbiter of a hotel. Levesque wants Aztec because he wants to catch Sadie. When Wagner hurts him badly, Cole kills Wagner brutally. He then tries to choke Sadie and gets the gun. Cole gets to the top of the tower as the spin speed goes out of orbit. Cole gets to Sadie and pushes Levesque away. He gets the Aztec, but after an impossible move, Sadie slams the hard object into Levesque and gets the Aztec. We see a romantic scene of this loving couple kissing in a beautiful place. Sadie has lunch with the Cole family sometime later, and they have a good time. Did you enjoy the video? Click subscribe. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Now click this video to enjoy another daily sexy movie recap. You won't want to miss out on its shocking and satisfying ending.
DJ for her. He finds another record to play along with the one he is already playing. This skill impresses Belle. Belle tells him that she is glad they knocked on his door because they are having way more fun at his house than at the party they were meant to go to. He tells her that his house is not normally as fun as it is when they are there. Belle thinks that they were meant to meet, so she asks him to dance with her while he tells her that you make things happen. When the Uber pulls up, she flirts with him and tries to kiss him. He goes to get their clothes and the phone while Belle goes to get Genesis. Evan goes to the bathroom to look for the girls when they do not come to the door. He hears them laughing inside and goes to give them their clothes, but when he gets there, he finds them naked. They say it's a surprise for him, and at first Evan acts like a prude by saying their Uber is waiting and begging them to get ready. Genesis tries to kiss him, but he turns her down. When they both touch him, though, he gives in pretty easily. The Uber driver leaves because no one answers his calls, while Evan has a threesome with the girls in the bathroom and then in his bed. They all fall asleep at the same time. The next morning, Evan wakes up alone in bed and responds to his wife's text message right away. He then puts his wedding band back on. He gets dressed and checks the house, but as soon as he thinks the girls have left, he hears them laughing and making a mess in the kitchen. Genesis is making pancakes when he walks in, and he offers him some. Evan gets mad at them for how they are acting and asks if he can drive them home or wherever they want. He gets even madder when the girls laugh at him, which makes him realize he has a small problem on his hands. The phone rings, and it is his wife. He runs outside to answer it. Evan tells her that he smoked too much pot and passed out, so Karen calls him a lightweight. When the 2 girls appear on the glass door behind him, she starts telling him about the kids. He moves so that she cannot see them on the video call and tells her about his work project and how he is making good progress and will finish it soon. The girls keep making fun of him through the window. Karen sees that he is sidetracked by the doors, so they end the call. Seeing where he is going, so he cannot get rid of the girls easily, he swears and yells at them when he walks into the house. Evan tells them to get up and get ready, so the girls run into the next room. When he gets there to get them, he only finds Genesis, so he looks for Belle. He finds her in his closet, wearing his shirt. She tells him she loves him and asks him to hold her as she throws herself on him. Ivan brings her back to Genesis and tells them they have 3 minutes to get ready while he waits outside. When he is done smoking, he goes back inside to get them and sees them both painting on top of Karen's sculpture. Ivan gets angry and throws Genesis off the sculpture. He then takes the pen out of Belle's hand and asks, "Do you know what you've done?" They say that last night gave them the idea, so he chooses to call the police. Genesis tells him it would not be a good idea though, because they are too young. She says Belle is 15. Genesis tells Ivan that the judges will believe it even though he doesn't. She says that it is a legal rape. Belle tells him that she has proof if he still calls. He does not understand what they said about the flight attendant the day before, and Genesis tells him that they saw that in a movie. Ivan does not know what to do, so he asks them how much money they want. People say that he is not like the others and that he should not be mad about it. Ivan pulls out his wallet and asks them again how much money they want. This makes them angry because he is treating them like whores. When the doorbell rings, Belle slaps him and tells him that she is not the whore. Ivan tells them to stay there and goes to answer the door. There, in front of the door, is Vivian, his therapist. Vivian starts talking right away, and he tells her he is much better and does not need any more therapy. Genesis comes out and tells her that he does not want her massage. The woman keeps talking and talking until Genesis comes out. Ivan tells her to go back inside, which makes Vivian very angry since she loves his wife. He tells her it is not what she thinks, but she keeps walking and says it is exactly what she thinks. When Evan goes back inside the house, he finds the girls messing with his record. He pushes Belle away from the table and then tries to push them both out of the house, but the girls just keep messing with him. Ivan gets more and more angry as Genesis keeps making fun of him, so he grabs her by the throat. Belle gets scared and grabs a figure so that she can hit him over the head if she needs to save a friend who keeps making fun of Evan. He lets her go and calls the cops to say that someone broke into his house. Genesis cuts the call short before he can say anything else and asks him for a ride. He drives them to another area after they all leave the house. When Belle gets out of the car, she asks Ivan to come inside and meet her mom. Instead of going into the house, the girls go the other way. Ivan goes home and starts to clean as soon as he gets there. He cleans the kitchen and bathroom, and then tries to clean the sculpture that his wife made. That night, he takes a pill because he thinks it is all over and he has gotten out of the situation without any damage. When Evan hears glass breaking in another part of the house, he goes back to his work project. He looks into the noise, but at first finds nothing. When he walks into the living room, he sees a broken picture of his family on the floor. Genesis hits him over the head with one of his wife's works when he bends down to get it. Ivan wakes up tied to the bed and hears Genesis putting on makeup and singing. He begs her to untie him and let him go, saying that he is a good person who made a mistake, but she just keeps doing what she is doing. Belle shows up all of a sudden wearing his daughter's clothes, even her underwear. Ivan loses it and tells her to take them off, calling her a crazy woman. Belle pulls off the underwear and throws it in his face while dancing in front of him and telling him that a girl's first love is her father. Ivan tells her she is sick, but Belle keeps playing her games anyway. He begs her to untie him, but she just sits on top of him, which shows some of her deep-seated daddy problems and how hard her childhood was. Genesis writes, "It was not a dream on the mirror at the same time." Belle starts hitting Evan, acting like he is her own father and hurting her like he did when she was a kid. When his phone rings, they both reach for it at once. When they see that Karen is calling Evan on FaceTime, they get ready to pick up the call and threaten to do so by unzipping his pants. He begs them not to do it and tells Belle that he will do whatever she wants. Belle wants to make out with him, so Genesis jumps him. Belle records the whole thing on his phone, and Genesis leaves the space. Ivan is able to get out of his bonds and push Belle to the ground. Getting up and going after Genesis, he grabs her by the neck when he sees her eating cake, but she uses her fork to stab him in the shoulder. She turns the fork around in the wound, which holds Evan down. When Belle comes over, she tells him that Evan hit her, so they will have to punish him. Ivan loses awareness from the pain, which gives the girls another chance to tie him up. They pretend it is a game show and play a game with him. Genesis is the host of the show, and Belle is one of the contestants. Ivan calls them crazy liars, so Genesis starts to play. Sounds came from his turntable and hurt his ears a lot. He shouts that he wants to lose his hearing, so she quiets down. Genesis keeps playing the game show role and when he does not want to join in, she hurts him again. Evan answers the second question in a way that makes the girls happy. He tells Genesis that she proved her point, so she plays the noise again. When he gives in, she asks him another question. Ivan does not know what to say and is about to get in trouble, but the bell rings and saves him. When Louis comes over to get the sculpture, the girls hide him from Evan, so he does not see him. Belle then wheels Evan into another room. Genesis answers the door and says that Evan is her uncle, and that a music video is being shot in his house. When Louis comes in to take the sculpture, he sees that something is wrong with it, and the girls say that they did not do it. He finds it and sees that they lied about the art. The girls then tell him that someone broke in and that Evan was chasing the person. When Genesis hits on Louis, he does not believe them and wants to call the police. He does not fall for her charm, though, and can see right through them. When Evan starts making noise, Louis runs over to him and talks to the girls. He finds Evan and starts to free him, but when he hears the girls breaking the sculpture, he decides to deal with the girls first. Louis runs over and yells at them, but his fear makes him have an asthma attack. But he cannot find his inhaler because they took it out of his pocket and started throwing it around as a joke. Ivan begs the girls for his inhaler, but Louis loses his balance and hits the base of the sculpture with his head, breaking it. Even though Ivan begs them to call an ambulance and help Louis, the girls start laughing and do not listen to him. Ivan says they killed him, but Genesis says it was his wife's bad art that killed him. They wheel Evan back into the house and later cover Louis's body with paper to make a sculpture out of him. Evan tries to get to his gun at the same time. From Evan's phone, Genesis sends a threatening text to Louis, and they put the body in Louis's car. When the girls come back, they keep acting like they are on a gang show with Evan. He does not answer the question, but he keeps saying that he is a good father and that what happened with the girls does not change how much he loves his family. Genesis says that his family is the victims of his disgusting behavior, and Belle spits on a picture of Genesis's family and says that is what he did to Genesis's parents and he slept with them. Ivan knows that they are going to kill him, so he starts pleading for his life. He says that the girls started the whole thing by taunting him and that he has nothing to do with it. Genesis tells him that he will be killed at dawn and that if she were him, she would not spend her last hours crying about it. Belle says she is sorry and that this is the only way. Later, the girls dig a grave for him in his garden and come back inside just as he gets his tablet out to call Karen. Genesis takes it away from him, and then they go to his closet to get him something else to wear. Then, they messed up most of Karen's statues and design models. The girls also give him a bowl cut as a way to continue making fun of him. They also destroy his house and all of Karen's artwork. Then, all of a sudden, they find the gun and Belle takes him free. When Evan asks her again what she wants, Genesis tells him she wants to play hide and seek. He plays hide and seek with him, then gives him 30 seconds to hide in the house. She says that they will leave if they do not find him by morning. As the girls count down from 30, Evan runs into the kitchen and grabs a knife. They search the whole house for him, but when Evan thinks they have gone far enough, he runs out of the house. Genesis finds him and tells him that he can scream as loud as he wants because no one is home to hear him. The girls roll Evan to his grave at dawn and throw him in. Before they start to bury him, they prop him up so that his head is above the ground. Even though he is buried up to his neck, he keeps begging for his life. Evan says he will be good, so Genesis takes the gag off. He tries to trade for his life, and Genesis tells him that he can go free if he calls his family and tells them everything. Ivan says he will do it, but when Genesis calls his wife's phone and gets her answering machine, he starts screaming for help. Genesis puts the mask back on and tells him that she hung up as soon as she heard Karen's voicemail. She picks up a sculpture and acts like she is going to drop it on his head. Instead, she puts it down next to him. He starts crying, and they laugh and tell him they were not going to kill him. Belle tells him it was just a game, and they say they have done the same thing to all the guys they have hurt. Before they leave, they admit that they are not minors and do one more thing to Evan. Belle puts the tape of her and Evan on Facebook, then she and Evan leave the phone in front of him and leave the house. Evan tries to delete the video before it gets any more views than it already has, but he accidentally clicks like instead of delete. The next day, when his family gets home, they find the house in complete chaos because of what the girls did. Click this video to enjoy another amazing movie. Don't miss out on its shocking ending.
Hi, sexy. Come and watch till the end. Ben Willis, a boring art student, dates Susie until he breaks up with her. Ben compares the split to a car crash. Susie exploded when she learned he wanted to split up. Ben was upset when Susie sought consolation from Steve after their breakup. Ben observes Susie and her new partner as he heads to a cafeteria seat alone for lunch. Scene, his buddy, questions him about Susie. Ben said Susie was constantly seeking a better party or lover to move on to. Ben left her because he could not make her happy. Scene advises Ben to date a model or gorgeous girl. He believes Susie would be envious if Ben dated an attractive model. Ben doubts this advice because he recalls all the women who rejected Scene. Later, Ben attends a painting class. He sketches a class posing nude male in one. He sees a gorgeous girl across the room while painting. Ben is captivated by her, sketching her jawline, lips, and huge blue eyes. His art instructor reminds him that it would be disrespectful not to sketch the voluntarily nude model in front of him. Ben struggles with the breakup throughout the following several days. He cannot sleep and has all day to ponder his broken love for Susie. Ben feels even more alone when he hears people making love through his college dorm walls. Ben calls Susie out of guilt. Susie rejected his attempts to reconcile. Ben's depression worsens. Ben keeps himself occupied throughout the day and at night. Over the following 2 nights, Ben finds a food shop late at night. Ben reads a grocery store ad for night shift workers. Ben finally discovered an excellent nighttime activity. Ben gets a boss interview quickly. Sainsbury's supermarket will hire him. Ben's life will alter when Jenkins shakes his hand. Ben spent the night staring at a spilled bag of peas. Jenkins instructs him to stop staring at the peas. Ben wakes up, but a lovely lady looking for something with her shorts up distracts him. Ben contemplates his passion for painting ladies. He believed the female body had untapped potential. Ben cleans up the peas after Jenkins hits him in the head. Ben watches his colleagues waste time while he adjusts to his new job. Sharon Pinty, the checker, never glances at the clock. Barry Brickman approaches it differently. Brick knows everything except work. His pal Matt Stevens also does dumb things. They joke about putting a nice adult toy in a woman's shopping basket. Barry and Matt were curious whether each lady purchased the adult toy at the register. It would make some of them smile to purchase it. Only Jenkins, their employer, does nothing to kill time. Jenkins spent his time talking about himself to bored coworkers. Night shift workers' oddest pastime is Ben's. When depressed, Ben shuts off the world. He feels time is frozen. He halts everything to execute his will. Ben begins thinking about how much he appreciates women's looks. When Ben was young, his family hosted a Swedish exchange student. The lady strolled from the shower to her room without clothing since Swedish culture is open-minded. Ben considered it half wrong. He often appreciated the woman's physique for its beauty. This inspired Ben to become a painter. Ben saw gorgeous ladies at the shop without clothing in his pause time. He sketched their nude bodies along each aisle, emphasizing their attractiveness. Ben could just snap his fingers to reset time. Scene visits Ben in the morning. Ben recalls being 5 with Scene. Scene and his brother went shopping without their mom one day. Scene wanted to show Ben his parents' nasty magazines. Ben was perplexed by the women's bold nude poses. Scene's mother entered the room unexpectedly. Scene hurriedly placed the magazines back in the drawer, and the 2 lads approached Scene's mother, being rough without intending to. Scene's parents assumed he and his pal were homosexual. When Ben arrives in the morning, Scene orders him to locate more Natalies. Scene considers Natalie a one-night stand. Scene discovered as a child that most women in nasty publications were paid to be nude. Dirty magazines originated here. Scene gave a lot of money to Natalie after learning this. Scene would see Natalie's privates. After liking Natalie, the local men queued up with money. Sharon meets Ben in the locker room during another night shift. Sharon bites into Ben's sandwich. She is lovely. Sharon's face is pickled. She misses Ben as he uncomfortably instructs her to brush it off. Before Sharon departs, Ben tenderly wipes her face. Ben wants to freeze time for a week, but can only slow it down. Ben is saddened to learn Matt asked Sharon out. Ben then notes that crush may indicate both love and grief. Ben lists his crushes. His favorite was Tanya Green. Tanya suffered a grade school accident that cast her left arm. Ben found Tanya's group management highly intriguing. Tanya's friends teased her when her cast came off because her arm hairs had grown out. Ben comforted her while she wept. Thus, Ben began dating Tanya. Ben advised Tanya to wait before kissing for the first time one day. Since Tanya, her parents, and Tanya went to America the following day, Ben would always regret this. After a humiliating 26-0 defeat, Ben's employer, Jenkins, organizes a weekend football game for the workers. Matt's throw smacks Jenkins in the face. Matt takes Jenkins, who is bleeding, to the hospital. The squad leaves Ben and Sharon alone. Ben and Sharon learn about each other at a local restaurant. Ben learns Matt did not sleep with Sharon there. Ben and she then share their aspirations. Sharon had always wanted to meet a painter because she believes they would see beauty in everything, which she finds lovely. That night, they liked each other. Ben uncomfortably kisses Sharon on the cheek while walking her home. Jenkins announces a birthday celebration the next day, inviting everyone. Sharon invites Ben to be her party date, and Ben is delighted. Ben gets a stripper at his birthday party as a surprise from Jenkins. Ben will drive Sean to the party if Sean helps him. Sean hires a stripper at a bar with Ben. Ben just thought of Sharon while there. He imagines Sharon in the dark corner with just a shining pole to guide her. Sharon dances around the pole and stares at Ben in a tight black dress. Ben's mesmerized. Sharon asks Ben the night before the party whether he will attend with her. Sharon kisses Ben upon acceptance. That kiss was the only thing that put Ben to sleep. Ben sleeps until the afternoon after 4 weeks awake. A guy calls Ben to exhibit his paintings in a gallery. Sadly, Matt and Brick are up to their antics again. Ben claims he no longer thinks about Susie or the gorgeous ladies at work. Sharon consumes him. Because of her beauty, he continues drawing Sharon into a timeless universe. Everyone is preparing for the celebration tonight. Ben brings Sharon up from her apartment and joyfully informs her about the gallery's offer. Sharon celebrates with him during the celebration. The celebration started before Ben and Sharon arrived. Jenkins is jaying, Matt and Brick are dancing, and Sean gets rejected again. Ben is surprised to see Susie at the party and learns that Steve, Susie's boyfriend, is Jenkins' brother. Ben and Sharon keep partying after a strange talk with Susie. The stripper appears unexpectedly. She lap dances in front of Jenkins. Post-dance, the female approaches Sean. Natalie, the stripper, is Sean's childhood buddy. Hello. And they get along immediately. Susie approaches Ben in the upstairs bathroom queue. Jenkins is also attempting to get close to Sharon below. Brick plans to ride a box down the stairs. On the stairs, everyone watches Brick. Susie kisses Ben to reconcile. Brick was going to tumble down the stairs, so Sharon checked the top level. Sharon is furious to witness Ben and Susie kissing. Ben pulls Susie aside and races to Sharon, who is leaving and going for the door. Ben freezes time again and realizes he cannot undo what occurred. Ben leaves Sharon after 2 days. Ben rushes to Sharon's place to explain, but she is so furious she cannot see. Ben sleeps poorly for a few days after leaving her apartment. Ben seldom sees Sharon at work either. Ben visits the art museum Matt and Brick call from. He realizes he has been duped when the art business owner denies a meeting. Before leaving, the owner notices Ben's Sharon doodles. Ben gets a gallery night when the owner is intrigued. Sharon is invited to Ben's A Frozen Second art display. She visits the exhibition despite being upset with Ben. That night, she is astonished to see all the art about her. Hundreds of drawings depict her. Sharon looks awestruck. Ben looks at her. When Ben attempts to explain what occurred at the party again, Sharon advises him not to. The art display speaks volumes. After kissing Sharon, time freezes again, but Ben and Sharon may move in the frozen world. Sharon and Ben walk through 1,000 snowflakes. The lovers kiss again in timelessness. Ben thinks about how love is always there if you seek it and how sometimes you have to pause or you could miss it. The end.
She learns that she attempted to commit suicide, and along with the blood she lost her memories. As well, he tells her that he was the first one to find her in the bathtub. Her overbearing husband wants Sarah to rest enough and gather her strength over time. And then he tells her everything is going to be different now, even though she's living in her parents' house. She feels something off about her surroundings. She hears the grandfather clock bell ring often, but she cannot find one in the house, even the bathtub that Nick mentioned that he found her in is not there anymore. When she asks Nick about the bathtub, he tells her that he had it removed after the incident. With time, Sarah starts regaining bits and pieces of her memories. She remembers that she had a sister, but she does not remember that her parents have passed away. However, according to Nick, her sister July is a selfish person who has manipulated their parents' will to take over everything and leave her with just the empty house now. Nick has hired a maid named Rose to take care of Sarah. when he's working on his typewriter. However, since the first encounter, Rose seems to be quite hostile towards Sarah. For no reason, Sarah frequently has weird nightmares, and the grotesque figures in her dream tell her to run. And when Nick gives her some pills to help her relax sometimes, she dreams of herself in the bathtub, slitting her wrist, and crawling on the floor. At other times, she sees some unknown person checking on her, but weirdly one of them seems to be just her sister, unlike. Are you enjoying this video? Click subscribe. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Julie is a loving sister who prays for Sarah's quick healing and good health in her thoughts. Sarah does not feel like she has a relationship with Nick, but she has no memories of them at all. She also has not figured out who she really is, which makes her frustrated. Still, she wants to give them a chance and start over. Even though Sarah is having a lot of problems, her health is slowly getting better. So Nick suggests that they have a simple dinner party with their closest friends. He tells her that their friends have been worried about her and that it will be a good chance to catch up with them. One day, a man named Tom comes to Sarah's house. He says he is Julia's friend and that he is there to help her. He gives her a key and tells her to listen to the voice in her head. But when Nick arrives, the man is nowhere to be found, and Nick is left wondering what happened. Sarah says there was a man, but Nick gets mad at her for not believing him when he says there is no one standing in front of their door. Nick tries to convince her that he is there to help her and that everyone is taking advantage of her kindness, but Sarah does not believe him. Sarah apologizes to him right away. Just then, Nick remembers that he has something for her and pulls out a box with a beautiful red dress that she could wear to the party that afternoon. When she goes to the storage, she finds the old family photos and the same key that the man gave her. Then the same man appears out of nowhere and starts strangling her. As he does this, she realizes that the man looks exactly like Nick. Rose does not care what Sarah thinks about the party and says rude things about Nick, which makes Sarah angry and furious. Sarah fired Rose from her job right away. Then, while working in the yard, she pulls out some weeds and finds a bloody lump of a root. Since Sarah is not feeling well, this makes her sick to her stomach. Nick wants to cancel the dinner party, but Sarah will not let him because she does not want to ruin it. On the night of the dinner, Sarah again finds a key in her drawer. Since she is nervous about the dinner, Nick gives her a pill to calm her down. Sarah gets dressed in a red dress and lies down on her bed, but what she sees next is completely out of the ordinary. Her reflection in the mirror is wearing a white dress, and then she hears a girl scream. Are you enjoying this video? Click subscribe. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Things get weird. Sarah is shocked to see Rose come back to the party. When she asks Nick, he says Rose is there to help him cook the pork. Soon, the conversation turns to cannibalism, which is a strange thing to talk about at a dinner party. Nick then lets other guests in on the secret. A mysterious man outside the house. She asks for another drink, and Rose gives her a drink with something in it. As soon as she drinks it, Sarah's vision starts to blur, and the man next to her puts his hand on her lap. Even though she tells him to stop, he doesn't, so the drunk woman cannot get away. Sarah sticks the fork into his hand. Now a man has been stabbed with a fork, but no one is upset about it. Instead, they are all laughing and cheering like it is just another night. Gasping for air, she drags her bloody body to her parents' room and sees a man in a pig mask standing behind her mother. Again, she wakes up in the bathtub, but this time the pig man is behind her, and right in front of her is the frozen scene. Sarah is so confused that she runs up to her room. Nick follows her, but before he can do anything, Tom steps in, seeing this as a chance to get out of there. Sarah gets the key from her drawer, and when she opens the door with it, she finds herself in a completely dark room with only a single light source drawing her toward it. She feels like she is surrounded by demons, so she runs for her life and ends up in a room full of books. There, she sees two books, one with Rose's name on it and the other with her own. And when she opens them, Nick shows up behind her, and she looks out the window and sees Tom just below it. Nick then tells her that the voice in her head led the racers to her wrist. Tom yells that Nick is lying to her, but Nick keeps trying to win her back. At that moment, she sees the scene of her mother stabbing her father, but now she sees the pigman guiding her mother from behind to kill her father before leading her to put a knife in her own throat. At the same time, Tom throws holy water at Nick's face, and when it hits his skin, Julia is screaming at the top of her lungs for it to kill her instead of her sister as Tom reads the spells and pours holy water on Sarah. After a few minutes of fighting, Tom decides it is over, and the doctor leaves after making sure Sarah's vital signs are stable. Tom tells the girls that when a monster leaves a host, it leaves behind a hole that does not go away for a while. He still tells Sarah to be careful and tells Julie to keep an eye on her sister after everything is over. Julie says goodbye to Tom and goes back to Sarah, where she gives her a pill. Julie sits in front of her and tells her that she is the one who found her in the bathtub. She tells Sarah that she is there for her whenever she needs her. When Julia tells Sarah that everything is going to be okay, Sarah is suddenly reminded of Nick. Why? Because Julie gives off the same vibe as Nick and has the same suspicious pill. Sarah also remembers Julie screaming and pleading with Nick not to take her instead. As the movie ends, Julie tells Sarah that everything is going to be different. Did you enjoy the video? Click subscribe. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Now click this video to enjoy another daily sexy movie recap. You won't want to miss out on its shocking and satisfying ending. Then the girl takes out the cult and begins to balance American's opening. Fire on Cross. The gunfight bursts out in the store. Wesley is stunned by a panic attack. He tries to run, but the strange girl holds him back. Then she takes out the corner shot device and starts shooting off the mirrors to limit the Cross's field of study. At this moment, Wesley takes the chance and runs outside. Cross tries to catch him in the van, but the girl slowly gets Wesley into her red Ferrari. The chase continues. The girl hangs through the windshield and fires at the van. Wesley and Jolie with her right foot drive the car and turns. The guy, meanwhile, admires the view. A police team blocks the street before our heroes. Having assessed the situation quickly, the girl jumps behind the wheel and makes the Ferrari skid. The wheels hit the drain, and the car flips, falling on the bus. After that, the couple restarts their tour of the night city, but that was too much for Wesley, and he goes faint. Wesley wakes up in what looks like a textile factory. He tries to leave, but all doors are stopped by some angry men. Then the girl from the store shows up, and Wesley frantically tries to convince. Are you enjoying this video? Click subscribe. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Man emerges with a gun in his hand. He gives Wesley a gun and tells him to shoot and hit a fly circling over a trash can. Wesley looks shocked by such a request. Then the man makes the task harder and tells him to hit the wing of the fly. Instead, Wesley feels a gun pointed at the back of his head. The big guy behind says that if Wesley didn't shoot, he'd get shot. Instead, a panic strike makes Wesley's response so quick that he can track the movement of the fly's wings after shooting 6 bullets. Music. Wesley rushes to take his medicine, but the boss stops him and shows him the flies with their wings shot off. He throws away his meds and says his heart was beating at 400 beats per minute. His pituitary glands spilled a huge amount of hormones into his bloodstream, which made the reply several times quicker. This is not a fear episode, but the power he received from his father. Wesley thinks he's crazy and threatens him with a gun, asking to stay away. The man presents himself by the name of Sloan, and Angelina is Fox. Sloan says Wesley himself is crazy, working away at the building with such possibilities. Instead of freeing his power and using it, he gives him a chance to repay his father and kill Cross. This gun you're holding, and it belonged to your father. He could conduct a big chorus with it. Also, they moved all his father's money to Wesley's account after all that they let the poor guy go the next morning. Wesley wakes up thinking that what has happened was just a dream, but in the bathroom he's forced to come to senses by a gun that fell out of his pocket. He hides the gun in the toilet tank. Wesley goes to the nearest ATM and finds out that there are more than $3.5 million in his account. At work, Wesley studies articles about the murder of his father on the roof of a building. All of a sudden, the boss shows up and meets the guy nicely. Stage, "I still don't have my billing report," she yells at him again that the study is still not ready, and he wastes time surfing the internet. The boss threatens him that she will destroy his career, and Wesley answers politely. He tells all the truth about her and how the whole group laughs. Behind her back, he does real emotional damage. Then he grabs his keyboard and goes away. Barry calls him a man with balls and wants to give him a high five, but Wesley smashes his face with a computer for screwing his girlfriend. Excited, he leaves the building and sees newspapers with the stories about his yesterday's adventure in the store. Fox picks him up, and he happily jumps into her car. The girl brings him to the weave factory. At first, Wesley thinks that this mill serves only as a cover, but as it turns out, they are indeed master weavers and run this business expertly. They call themselves the Fraternity of Weavers. When Wesley walks up to the work cafe, he realizes that they're the real weavers. He says he doesn't want to go back to his old life, and Sloan puts Fox in charge of training him. Then the training starts. They tie him to a chair and start to beat him. Asked why he came here, he doesn't understand what they want from him and just says that it's definitely not to be beaten in the face. Then the battered guy is brought before a butcher who tries to train him in knife fighting. They don't spare Wesley at all, and he gets badly hurt. He wakes up in a bath full of wax. A guy nicknamed Exterminator is working on his recovery and says that these are special rejuvenation showers to help his pain. The man gives Wesley booze, and he immediately understands that the man is Russian liquor. "Yeah, are you Russian?" "Yeah." Gun training also takes place in an unusual way. Wesley has to learn to fire bent bullets, not only with a straight course. Such an interesting work. Repeats day in, day out. He's beaten to a pulp, then healed. Eventually, another body of a fraternity member is brought. It's the work of Cross, who cuts them one by one, according to Sloan only. Wesley can stop him a bit later. Fox asks the guy to catch a shuttle that moves at a great speed inside the moving loom. He tells her to put a gun to his head to trigger his response, but Fox says that he has to learn to control himself. Wesley fails and just hurts his hand during the healing process. The Russian shows him a trick with a rat. He mounts a small explosive device on a mouse and leads it to a safe place with peanut butter. The rat bursts. The man says Wesley's father loved that trick. The guy asks if he's okay and what they've done to him since he acts somewhat weird. Meanwhile, Fox Klein comes out from the close bathroom and tells Wesley to follow her to the training. This time she starts to beat him to a pulp herself and asks the same question, why he's here and why he's wasting her time. Finally, Wesley gives the only right answer. He wants to know who he really is. He is brought to Sloan, who tells him about his father, saying that he was the best of them, and shows his things in room. Wesley puts on his father's jacket and decides to measure up to him at all costs. His training now becomes important, as his goal is to revenge his father. All difficulties seem insignificant to him. He easily stands any bullying and absorbs loads of information about his enemy. He trains day and night with the passion of the Shaolin priest. He makes short work of the knife master. The teacher who beats him broke his bones against Wesley's head. Then came Wesley's turn to beat him up. The only thing he couldn't handle was to stop a bullet. Fox decides to help him with this and stands before the body to motivate the guy. Feeling huge responsibility, Wesley manages to curve the bullet around her head and hits the 10 ring. Now it's time for his first task. Sloan leads him to the loom. It turns out that they learned the names of their targets from the cloth made by the loom of fate their ancestors from the club deciphered. A secret code that lets changing thread errors into a binary sequence, which is then used to make up. The names Wesley gets the name of his first target, Fox, is following him on this mission riding on the train roof. They approach the goal, but Wesley can't fire. He closes his eyes and remembers their conversation with Fox a day. Earlier, he asked her how it was possible to take someone's life by order of some fabric. Fox then told him the story of the little girl whose father was a judge. Ethical and incorruptible, at some point he was dealing with a case of a high-profile crime. The defendant wanted some other judge and sent a killer named Max Patrick to his house. This killer burned his victims alive and forced their family to watch it after, which he carved his names on their bodies so that they would never forget. This horror, when Fox joined the fraternity, she found out that the loom revealed Max Patrick's name a few days before the death of the judge, and one of the members had failed to pull the trigger. That is why the fraternity's motto is kill one and save 1,000. Are you enjoying this video? Click subscribe. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Wesley opens his eyes and decides to kill the businessman by firing a bent bullet. He gets one task after another, and each time he hopes that Cross's name will come up on a new mission. He can't kill a businessman on his own while the target is moving in a protected vehicle. Then Fox helps him by setting up her racing car as a springboard by making a flip above the car. The young Padawan manages to shoot the target through the open sunroof. After the job, they go to Wesley's house to grab the gun hidden in the toilet. Seems like his friend Barry now lives in his apartment with Wesley's girlfriend. Wesley knocks out Barry by practicing a May Gary on the door and heads straight to the toilet. While his girlfriend throws muck at him, Fox gets tired of hearing her screaming and decides to improve the status of the guy. In the eyes of his ex, she gives Wesley an intense kiss and the couple leaves. Barry tells Wesley in his wake he's a man. Wesley on the street. When Fox went to steal a car, Wesley sees Cross. He opens fire, but Cross manages to repel Wesley's shot with his bullet. The chase after Cross starts with other members of the fraternity joining at an abandoned building site. Wesley accidentally shoots killer while he stands shocked by his mistake. Cross shoots a curved bullet from around the corner, hitting the guy's shoulder. Wesley wakes up in the recovery room. He sees how they are trying to save the Russian bro, but fail. An exterminator dies. Luckily, the bullet removed from his shoulder is the first one that can be traced. It was made by Pekorsky. He works at a convent in Eastern Arabia. The fraternity sees that this is a specially prepared trap, and they don't want him to go alone, but Wesley manages to show them that he's ready finally. Sloan gives him the paint with Cross's name on it. When Wesley leaves, Sloan gives Fox the board with Wesley's name and tells her to kill him when he's done with Cross. The guy gets at the convent and found Pekorsky. The man pretends to be running, but then he tries to lure Wesley into a trap. Fortunately, Fox, who was watching Wesley, arrives to his aid. Wesley shows the bullet and asks where they can find the owner. Pekorsky vows to arrange a meeting with him. He brings them to the train stop. Pekorsky is ready for Cross, while Fox and Wesley sit in ambush. Suddenly, the old man starts to run away. The couple chases him down with his side vision. Wesley sees Cross in the car. He jumps on the train while Fox follows. Pekorsky. The train leaves and Fox realizes that Wesley is now face to face with Cross. She takes an old Soviet car from an old couple. Pekorsky calls Cross and says that Wesley is on the train on his own. Cross grabs the guy and wants to tell him something, but Fox tries to catch up with the high-speed train and her rusty shitbox, which is obviously tuned, and opens fire on Cross. A fight breaks out in the train while Cross only repels shots fired at him. The Fox's hoop tie rams the train, after which the train derails and hangs on the bridge like a sausage. Wesley almost fell into the abyss, but Cross managed to grab him, giving his life. The guy shoots his enemy and the whole car falls off and gets stuck in the gorge before he's death. Cross tells Wesley that he is his father and the group lied to him. All the time, Wesley asks Fox if it's true, and she confirms Cross's words. Wesley is the only one. Cross would not kill the other members, just couldn't get to him. The guy learns that his name was also exposed by the loom and manages to flee from Fox by shooting the glass. He falls into the river together with his father's body. Wesley wakes up in the recovery bath. In the house across the street from his old home, the guy hears his girlfriend telling her gal on the phone how disturbed she is by tricking away such a great guy. Pekorski tells how his father was always around and watched his life. He didn't want his son to take this terrible road and tried to keep him from meeting with the fraternity of weavers. Pekorski gives him a piece of fabric with Sloane's name. It turns out that the machine revealed his name and Sloane hid this. Cross learned that Sloane began to use the deciphered codes for his own selfish goals, so he left the group and promised to destroy it. Wesley finds a secret path. In the closet there in the secret room are lots of bombs for rats and a full plan of the fraternity's base. Building, Wesley goes to the shop and buys a horseload of peanut butter. Using it, he draws rats into a garbage truck. He breaks into the building and releases his explosive rats. When the rats have done their job, he bursts into the building, killing everyone in sight. He's using his guns like leading a symphony, the musicians with it. At the most unsuitable moment, he has to fight the butcher, who is a surprisingly tough opponent, but Wesley gets to put a honing steel in his chest. Finally, he gets to Sloane. Wesley is surrounded by the surviving fighters, including Fox. Wesley tells them that Sloane was afraid and hid the loom's choice, after which he planned to remove the only witness. Cross, the fraternity members demand their leader to explain this. Sloane shows them the folder with the names deciphered from the painting. All members of the fraternity are among them. He says that they can keep following the loom's orders blindly, but in this case, they should all put a bullet in their heads, or they could let it all go, kill Wesley, and rule the world using their skills. After that, he leaves, letting the members reflect. All fighters decide to follow Sloane and kill Wesley except True, believing Fox, who fires a bullet in a circle, killing all of them, including herself. Wesley tries to follow Sloane, but he vanished into thin air. Lost and exhausted, he walks to the ATM and learns that his account is empty. A few days later, in Wesley's office, everything goes as if nothing ever happened. Sloane sneaks up on Wesley with the glitcher M712. The guy turns around, and we see that it's not Wesley but just a bait. He looks down and sees the Professor X mark under his feet. The nice, vintage-looking bullet pierces Sloane's head. Backwards move shows us the full direction of the bullet, which flew through the boss's donut and entered Barry's energy drink. The bullet was fired from the house of Wesley's father. Did you enjoy the video? Click subscribe. You would be helping me continue to create more sexy movie recaps just like this for you. Now click this video to enjoy another daily sexy movie recap. You won't want to miss out on its shocking and satisfying ending.